Friday Live here with Alex Bailey and Anthony Fitton from Bailey and French, and we are talking all things humanising the world of work this week. What's really been going on for us, our clients, our partners, our friends. We'd love you to join in, so chuck your comments and questions into the chat. We're streaming across LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live and Facebook Live this morning. And we're steadily increasing our viewers week on week. So really pleased to have more people joining us. I hope you've got a coffee. I've got my drink here this morning. Ant, what are you on this morning?
I'm on the coffee and I've just finished my porridge, actually.
Yay.
Which is going to keep me going.
It's still cold enough for porridge though, isn't it? We had a big frost here last night, and it's super icy, but very sunny and lovely this morning. Which is much needed, I have to say, and because I am tired. Are you?
Yeah, I have to say I felt it coming in this morning. I was sort of driving in, and there's this lovely drive along the A23, and there was a game show on Radio 1, which it was quite amusing this morning, a bit of a quiz, and the winning team got to play Mr. Brightside this morning. So as I was driving in to Brighton, and you've got the South Downs, and it looks beautiful, and the sun is amazing here in Brighton today, but it is very cold. But there I was. I just thought, oh my God, I needed that. I really needed that this week.
Yeah, totally. And like yesterday when you asked as well, like, what's your favorite song to get you going? And I really needed to feel some level of motivation. Mine's the Eminem one. I can't remember what the title of it is.
That surprised me, and I love it.
Lose yourself, that's it. It just helps to psych me up when I feel like I need to run or do something, and I think we need that this week. You know, I'm not the only one. I've been talking to lots of clients and friends and partners, and oh my goodness, what a week. You know, with things opening up in the UK, you know, you cannot get a table in a pub or a restaurant in Brighton for love nor money, and it has been exhausting. I think people returning back to the office, doing the trips, walking around more. My goodness, like, it's fabulous, but like, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's the social interaction, isn't it? So we took 6 of the team to the pub on Monday and just about managed to scrape somewhere. And you just go, oh, I haven't been around this many people, and there's different interactions, and you've got the waiter, and you've got the people, and you've got people next to you, and you know, even just the little interactions are taking so much more energy than what maybe you would realize.
I find it easier almost if you look back at the change, and this is something we talked about kind of last year when we were doing kind of returning to work type conversations in July. Is that when you have a big change like a lockdown, the rules are clear, what you can't do anymore. So everything feels, even though it's a huge shift and a huge change, which in itself is tiring, you know what you can and can't do. But for me, this change almost back again is really much harder because there's so many different complexities and people's interpretation of those. So what I noticed was that, you know, the fist bump and the elbow bump that people were doing last summer has disappeared quite a bit. People are much further back than they were. And you see people you haven't seen for ages that you would normally just grab and hug. And you can't. You're like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
And it feels odd. It's like, it feels weird. And I think it's like a stress on you, isn't it? To like, oh, well, hang on, shouldn't I be like, everything I've learned, that fabric of what I've learned as a child and growing up, to how to greet people and be with people and be warm, is kind of is challenged and pushed.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it's kind of really entering every scenario with this seeking to understand because nothing is certain anymore. Even friends that you've known for years but you haven't seen in 6 months might have totally different kind of view of the world and worldview. So I hope one thing that does come out of this is we're all a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more understanding of very different perspectives and experiences and views of the world. We were talking midweek, weren't we, around this whole polarization of opinion on many things. And I just hope one of the good things that does come out of this, once we find our feet and once we understand, you know, what's my stance on, I think a lot of people are still finding out their own stance. How does this feel to be around hundreds of people around Brighton at the moment? How does it feel coming back to the office, even though it's incredibly safe and we've got, you know, masks and procedures and, you know, testing twice a week? All of those things still feel very uncertain. So I'm hoping that out of this, though, we are a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more understanding with each other.
Yeah, it's just taking that time, isn't it, to just kind of check in with yourself and just check in with your environment before you jump in. And habitually it's easy. And I, you know, get so excited, just want to jump straight back in. And then suddenly it's like, well, hang on a second, how does everyone else feel about that?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, the polarization thing is becoming just so strong, and so, I don't know, got quite stressful. So what I was obviously sharing with you earlier in the week, Ant, was how I feel like because of the pandemic, people have been searching for the latest information the minute it comes out, and your, you know, notifications of breaking news on your phone or watch even, or whatever it is you use, being able to see instantly what's going on in the world. But that then draws your attention to all the other things that are going on in the world, many of which are hugely polarizing. And actually, that's a huge stress to feel like, hang on, there's this incredibly negative thing going on here and a huge argument. And the press and the media have, you know, to a certain extent, I think, have had a field day in terms of creating all these grand headlines that are shocking. And when you're in a state where you're looking for information about things that are going to affect your daily life, to then be, you know, confronted with this argument and this negativity, I think has been really strong. And it does, for me, have a really big impact for leaders. So we were talking about human leadership, you know, being authentic, saying what you're feeling, sharing with people your vulnerabilities in a world that actually a lot of polarized views are being brought into the workplace conversations because those boundaries have blurred. Yeah.
And this conversation's come up actually with a number of the team, but also externally with clients and with friends and mentors. And it's about this, how do you play authenticity and vulnerability in a world that is incredibly polarized? What does that actually look like? Because in reality, you can't just put all of your opinions out there, because there are different opinions, and you as a leader have a responsibility, especially if you're CEO level, that your opinion can actually really impact the business and lives of potentially hundreds of thousands of people, right? So you've got to play authenticity and vulnerability in a really intelligent way. And that's not to say you make shift what you think. You can still be authentic, but you almost need to draw on these different behaviors. You need to build skills in all of these different behaviors that are authentic to you, that you can pull on and draw upon at different times. Those behaviors are skills, so they have to be learned, but then you put your authentic spin on them, but you play them in different scenarios at different times with different people. And that's where kind of strengths intelligence, you know, what energizes you and how you come across to others, and vulnerability intelligence. It's about intelligent use of authenticity and vulnerability, I think.
And that, you know, that's super hard. And so I'll be honest and authentic and vulnerable. That is really hard as a leader, getting it right in the moment when you've got so much change going on, knowing that people are listening to you and looking to you for guidance around how you're responding to things that are big, small, whatever they are. And knowing that with the polarization that's out there, if you don't join in the right way, then you're going to be judged. And you're going to be judged negatively, almost, whether what you're saying is right or wrong in whoever's eyes. And it's like that acceptance that goes along with authenticity, to say, you know, I accept that. Actually, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to be brave and courageous, and I'm going to share what I think. And I genuinely believe, you know, I'm coming from an inner compass that's kind of driven by doing the right thing. But my goodness me, I'm going to make mistakes, and I say things and slip up all the time, and I catch myself and I think, oh gosh, I didn't really mean that. Oh, it came out really wrong. And the only thing that I've noticed that I do in those certain situations is I'll say it. So if I say something and I think to myself, oh gosh, I don't know if I meant that, I'll say out loud, oh gosh, I don't know if I meant that, actually, sorry. Can we just backtrack a bit, because I think I was thinking of something else. And actually that's been the only thing that's helped me in those situations. But I wonder how much stress that puts on leaders as well, though, who are, you know, with hybrid teams, people working from home, people are being more authentic and honest. And, you know, we don't know what their boundaries are. Thank you, Sally, for some of your comments coming through. It's great to have you with us this morning. I hope you've got a nice cup of coffee there. But yeah, honesty is everything. But at the same time, appreciating people's boundaries. But what if you don't know what they are? And being nervous, and then almost not giving enough of yourself. So, you know, not demonstrating enough of that human empathy, you know, and people see you as perhaps quite cold because you're holding back. And I think leaders have now got such a super hard challenge of being able to lead and be human and authentic in a much broader application, because it's not just the workplace, it's the whole home, it's everyone included, it's other people listening, it's the boundaries and the barriers of screens and not screens. And it's just, you know, it's momentous at the moment, and that's going to be tiring. So, you know, we started off talking about being tired, but that is going to be tiring. So how are we going to energize people and leaders to keep going? You know, we're seeing waves of people leaving work because actually they don't want to be under this much pressure. You know, what are the challenges then, therefore, with companies in terms of recruitment? How are you going to get people in that want to be in an environment that's you know, really highly pressurized and so ambiguous?
And I think I think it starts with trust, doesn't it? It also starts with you as a leader making sure that, and I'm being blinded by the sun here for a minute, which is lovely and really distracting. You've got to if you're uncertain, it's because you haven't gone and asked the question. Like, it's really difficult actually as a CEO, or maybe if you've got hundreds of direct reports, which I know some people do, but if you've got a team that you work with regularly, how are you building in these questions to build the trust? And you have to start small, of course. You know, you have to trust the person and understand their story to then be able to appreciate and understand their point of view, no matter what that is. That's what inclusion is, right? But if you don't ask the question, if you don't have the conversation, how are you ever going to know? That's the only way to find out what people's opinions and perspectives are. And by building that trust, I think that's the key to then pushing forward and being safe. So one thing that I would definitely say to all leaders and anyone coming back into the business, you know, be really realistic with your weekly objectives and your weekly goals, and know that the number one goal that you have right now is staying connected and really connecting deeply with the people around you. That's going to, we know the benefits that gives yourself, you know, the dopamine, the oxytocin, serotonin, etc. in the brain. But also just for other people, the support network, you know, connecting with humans again, finding their feet, finding a bit of certainty. And I think, coming back to your point around recruitment, I think people, or definitely the people that have the choice, you know, where you've got skills in demand, or you're just genuinely great talent, you're committed, you know, you've got everything that company would want. I think good people are going to have a lot of choice of where they're going to want to work, and they're going to look for environments that have that level of deep connection and trust, that are a bit more human, that are a bit more focused on that person and not just the results. That's not to say that results aren't important, but I do think it's important, probably now more than ever, that we prioritize the person and the human.
Yeah, there's a lot in that. I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, absolutely. and then going, hang on a second. Yes, I think you're right. And that trust and the ability to trust those people, and the confidence, that where does that come from? And I'm just thinking about, you know, situations where I've talked about it a lot, kind of my story in my career of like being in meetings where I didn't say anything, and I only ever said something to share what, you know, a research project or what someone else had done. And it wasn't until it was like I suddenly found my voice, and I was like, actually, do you know what? I think this isn't going to work, or I think this is going to be really hard, or I think this isn't going to land. And people went, oh, Yes, absolutely. And it was like, suddenly I was like, wow, actually I've got a voice. And there's something about like, how do we give people the confidence to say out loud what they're saying in their head in a way that they're not going to be judged? How do we create that open and honest environment where people can, you know, be themselves, but dial up the volume on that inner voice, because we've all got one. And we can tell, because it leaks. We can tell if someone's not saying something they really want to say. And that actually has come back to me more this week. Being around people in the office, I noticed again that sense of, oh, hang on a second, I don't think they've quite finished. Whereas you wouldn't get that online. It's much more, you know, explicit and structured almost in terms of the role play of how the conversation goes. Whereas in the room, I sensed something. And it was that awakening of senses that was, I mean, it was so lovely. I was like, yeah, this is what I've missed in terms of interpreting how people feel. And I love that. And then it made me kind of challenge myself and think, gosh, what have I missed then, you know, with the online conversations I've had? How can we have that sense? And that's the human. Exactly as you said, there is something so uniquely amazing about human beings and our intuition that is built on years of experience. And a great book on this is Homo Prospectus by Martin Seligman and all his pals. Is a fantastic book that I don't hear about very often, but it was amazing. Came out several years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it talks about exactly that. It's like, how are humans different in their ability to almost predict what's going to happen next and use their experience and their intuition? And it is so powerful. I think we so underestimate it because it's subconscious. And where did I hear this? I think it was Dan Pink, but don't quote me on that. I think it was Dan Pink. I'll have to come back to you. I'll post it on LinkedIn when I find it again. But it was you know, we need to almost get out of the way of the human. We need to create an environment for humans to thrive. Well, humans do thrive. Look at us. I love it.
Look at what we've done. Look at who we are in our society of today. And you know, I know people could argue that, well, you know, there's so much wrong with the world. There is, and there is still so much progress that we can make. But we have also made a huge amount of progress, and humans do thrive. And I think it's up to organizations to just find that natural environment for us to thrive and connect as human beings do.
And that's so much why I love the strengths work that we do. And obviously I'm fiercely passionate about it, is because for me, it gives you that kind of solid, like, actually I'm me. And that's okay. That's come from 17 years worth of life experience that no one else in the world has had. Unique, complex experience that has created me as a unique human being. And once I kind of recognized that and realized like my place almost in the world, it was like, actually, no, I can do this. And that's really strong, I think. Sorry, lots of things firing off in my head. But I was just thinking about, I saw an article this week. I can't remember where it was, but something I caught the end of that was about AI and robotics helping in call centers with people, like prompting them to be more empathetic, where they hear something in a client's voice on the call that suggests that they need to kind of tone up the empathy or tone up the problem solving. And I was like, that's incredible. Do we really need robots to help us be more human? And I was like, that, you know, that was shocking for me, because it was happening. And that's the thing, is like, are we really that disconnected from the humanness of ourselves that we need reminding? And what is it that we can do? Like, I love the AI stuff, and yes, I think we should trial all of it and work out what works and what doesn't. But for me, it's being able to, and this is for me really powerful about the psychometric argument that I often talk about. Is kind of like, why do we need to fill out a form on a computer to tell us what our strengths are when we can talk about our personal experiences and use language that actually relates spot on to our own personal experience and those stories of how those strengths were created? and that they're all completely unique. There's no box, there's no formula, there's no model. And that always strikes me as just really odd, that we need someone else to tell us who we are.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because and obviously that's the language that you have formulated in your mind for time and time. That's mastery. I think there is a lot of support that is needed to just give people that kick and that boost to go, hey, this is actually what a strength is, and we don't just mean a skill. We do mean something that energizes you and that you're passionate for. And that typically, when you ask people that question in our strengths discovery modules and things, they tend to they can give you a scenario, but they can't give you a word. So sometimes I can absolutely see why people would use those, but we talk about in our the unique contribution side of things.
Yeah,
it's the whole package of you as a unique person contributing to that organization, and that is your skill, that is your knowledge, and those are two separate things. I learned that this week. We're still learning, still in progress. And strengths, the things that you're innately passionate about. I actually think there's a fourth one, which is your unique story. Your story is your strength. There's a comment there, trust is a must. I'm gonna also go with your story is your strength. We can use both of those LinkedIn kind of slogans for the week. Your story is your strength. And I think the more we can articulate, you're absolutely right. I think the more we can master articulating who we are as a unique person and practicing that, voicing it, because sometimes you voice things and you go, well, that wasn't really me. I don't think that felt right. But having the kind of safety and the trust in your team, trust is a must. There we go. That was very clever to put that up on the screen.
I'm testing new stuff out. I'm being brave. Sorry, I am listening.
This is it, right? Try things. Get out there, try things. Does it feel right? Connect with the emotion when you say those things. Look at the emotional reaction of other people. That is potentially something that the AI won't be giving you yet. Maybe it will in the future. That definitely isn't something that you get when you're face-to-face in the return to work. It isn't something that you get in the face-to-face when you return to work. That's why it's a priority for leaders right now to be focusing on that stuff.
Yeah.
For leaders to be now trying out those new behaviors and those new habits. And how does it land? How does it feel? I think it's really difficult at an organizational level, because trust, you don't know that person as well. You maybe haven't spent so many hours in your unique groups of teams, the little project teams, or, we've got the private sector team here who got together at the beginning of this week, and we shared our purpose, and we've already shared our purpose actually a few times, but we shared it again at a deeper level and got people to ask questions about it. And actually we went around a couple of times to further deepen and get to the real root cause of the why, and it was amazing. And it didn't take 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was really quick. And we probably should have prioritized it even more, but we've had a busy week. But it was really powerful, 10, 15 minutes. It was probably one of the best meetings of the week. And will definitely give us energy to survive the next week and the week after that. There's a lot here, isn't there?
It's interesting though, isn't it, that changes, and that our motivation changes. There was something that I was pondering this week around like the regularity that's required for me of motivation, and how my triggers for that motivation do change actually really regularly. So like I'm completely driven and passionate by my vision and my belief, and that is what gets me up in the morning, and I'm completely determined to do that the rest of my life. But the daily motivation stuff, there's a little bit more that's required. And I've seen a couple of posts on BBC about, people struggling with motivation this week. And there was this thing that said to me, I was thinking about what motivates me to eat well. So I had, like many people, I've put on a couple of pounds through lockdown. And but for me, in the winter, it's very, very different. It's about warding off colds and flu and looking after my health and not getting poorly. In the summer, I want to eat well because I want to look nicer when I'm wearing summer clothes. And that's a really different motivation. It literally is completely different motivation.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really thought about it or engaged with it before, that actually my motivations at work change a lot as well. So like motivations now at the beginning of the new financial year, I'm so energized around the vision, the strategy, and I'll need that pick me up again at to review the quarter, to be like, wow, look what we did. We said we'd do. And I love ticking things off. Yes, tick, we did that. We said we were going to do this. Tick, we did that. Tick, we did that. You know, I'm very focused on accomplishing things, but that's the motivation that gets me. Yeah, now look what we can do. And it's amazing, isn't it, how you can like set your vision and purpose and be like, oh yeah, that's my vision, and just stick with it and not really revisit it. And for me, that regular revisiting of what's the motivation that contributes to that bigger goal and purpose is critical. Is what you said about the team goals, but being realistic with them, but you know, engaging with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of clients are coming to us with, you know, as we return to work, and now there's almost this perception of, okay, well, we've survived, now we need to go and thrive. Honesty is everything. Polar opposites. Yeah, good comment. And as we shift into this thrive, there's this pressure of, well, now it's about performance. We've done well-being, now into performance. Yeah. And actually tapping into that motivation, what's motivating you, what's meaning for you right now. That doesn't need to be a huge purpose statement like it was for my team at the beginning of this week. It can literally be what's motivating you right now. Right now, exactly. What's interesting to you right now? What are you? How are you developing right now? What one thing do you want to learn in the next couple of weeks that I can maybe connect you with someone? And there's a piece at the moment around connect to managers, connect to leaders. You know, you don't have to know everything yourself. Connect with others. Have you seen this article? Have you read this book? Have you spoken to this person? Oh, my friend knows a friend, or someone I can put you in touch with. That's the role of the leader. There's so much as we return to work, but it's just about checking in regularly. Things are changing. People are uncertain. They're uncertain of themselves. They're uncertain. They're second guessing their opinions, their ways of working. Let's just give ourselves a bit of compassion, a bit of kindness in every situation.
So your strength is your story. Is that what you said?
Strength is a story. Absolutely. Your strength is your story. Your story is completely unique to you. Completely. And how you express it and talk about it is it's your USP. So
we've talked about a lot today, Ant. We've gone into some really big topics over coffee before we even start the day, and believe me, it's certainly motivated me for the meetings I have ahead of me, and then they're picking up the kids from school after the first week back, which is always an exciting weekend. So just to recap then, we've talked about trust, we've talked about honesty, authenticity, polarization, returning to work, being a little tired, how do we keep motivated, team goals, so much in here. And I think these are the conversations that need to be happening more across businesses. So if you're talking to your team today, bring up one of these, have a go, think about, ask people how they're feeling, ask people how strong they're feeling to be themselves in the office in a different environment, and what their energy levels are and what's going to really get them motivated today. But we will be back again next Friday, 8:30 GMT, and we hope you can join us. Thank you for everyone who sent in messages, and thank you, Sally. I love your little picture of the coffee. It's good to see people up with us and having this conversation. Really enjoying these sessions, and I'm enjoying having a good opportunity to chat to you, actually, because everything gets so focused on work all the time, doesn't it, that this feels a little bit more relaxed. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, it's super motivating. This is why I come to work every day, right? This is my purpose. I want to be sharing things like this with everyone as much as possible, so we have a better world to live in the future.
Yay to that. What a lovely thing to finish on. All right, well, look, I'm sure I'll speak to you shortly in a meeting at some point, but I hope this has given you a big boost for the day. And thank you to everyone who's joining us. Join us again next Friday for Friday Live at 8:30 in the morning. Take care and have a great week.
Speak to you then.